Hi and welcome on YouTube. Good to see you. Once again, welcome everybody to the Get Hired LinkedIn Live. It is that time of the week yet again. We're in a different location again today, so not in the studio. It'd be great to see everybody. Unfortunately, I'm without I have a glamorous assistant who usually helps me, but he's decided that flying off down to Australia and watching the cricket is more exciting than taking part in the Get Hired and LinkedIn Live sessions. I can't believe that personally. I would have thought it would be a much better place to be. But look, it's good to see you anyway. As ever, Foxy, you have beaten Nena. Great to see you. I'm sure she'll absolutely love that to see as well. Caroline, great to see you as well. I see here, what's this? The first most important thing I wanted to feed in is that I found a dark chocolate orange in Sainsbury's. I think a moment, entirely to work out quite what is happening there. I thought they'd finished all of that, but look, it's good to see. As ever, make sure you introduce yourselves, and if you've not joined before, let us know where you're from, whereabouts you are, which part of the country, the world that you are as well. Look, the whole point of these sessions here is not just to give you useful information as to how to navigate what is a really challenging market out there, but also for you to support each other and to start finding out a little bit more about what is happening out in the world of recruiting as well. And in particular this time, look, we're wanting to actually delve into that thorny subject of AI. So also put in your thoughts here. I would love to know a little bit more about what part of AI in the hiring process that you're particularly either confused with or you find frustrating. What are the areas that you're finding particularly challenging at the moment? Because that would be really good. It's that, this whole session is here. There's a lot that's been going on about AI. And I think there's an awful lot here that we can try and dispel a lot of those myths that are out there, but also to try and work out what is going on as well. Great to see you from the Big Apple. Always good to see you from there. Chris, great to see you from Newquay in Cornwall. I'm sure it's fantastic to see you back there as well. I can see a few more coming in now. Marco, glad to be back. Thank you. Antwerp. Wow, what a marvelous city that is as well. If you've not been there, I would always hasten to add to go there as well. David, great to see you as well from Chislehurst. Great part of the world as well. Jeffrey, hi from Texas. So good old Texas. Thank you so much. It's pretty early for you. So look, absolutely, I would say fantastic that you're coming up to come and see us as well. We've got a few more coming in. Hello, Zana from Amsterdam. I do love Amsterdam. I spent some wonderful times there working with a particular client of mine over there, a very big, in fact, it was booking.com, so I'm quite more than happy to tell you who it was. But it was a fantastic time there. I absolutely loved it there. Also, good afternoon from Liverpool as well, not too far away from me as well. So great to see you as well. So thank you so much. Look, you're all coming in here as well. Jeffrey, look, that's amazing. 6 o'clock in the morning. That is dedication. Absolutely right. And what an amazing way to do that as well. Foxy had a good week, posted a really well-performing video and had 2 very promising interviews. Congratulations. Great to hear. What we want to see here is all these great good news that keeps on coming through. So absolutely keep on making sure that comes through as well for you. So look, absolutely fantastic to see you all today. So look, let's put in some thoughts here. It'd be really good to find out a little bit more about what you are thinking about in terms of AI. How have you come across it? What are the things that you think is happening in AI in recruiting? Have you come across any particular examples of it, or is it just a feeling that you're feeling you're being screened out of roles, particularly from that as well? Peggy, hi from Copenhagen. Wonderful Copenhagen. I think it's a great city as well. I really love that. Home of Lego as well. So look, let's go into a little bit more. I think the real big thing that is up here is is whether it's the big myth. The big myth that keeps on going out there, you see a lot on LinkedIn, is that AI is screening your CV, that AI is the thing that is stopping me from being seen. It sometimes gets confused a little bit. I think we see a lot of those posts. I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of posts out there that are talking that the ATS is screening me out. They're using AI to do all of that. What have we seen from that point of view as well? It looks like we've got a few different points here, David. Companies and/or recruiters using AI to interview candidates. It's just wrong. Having to speak to a bot or avatar is just not natural. Recruitment is a human-to-human experience. That I completely agree with you. It really should be. But things are really changing, and a lot of these companies are starting to do that as well. Marco, I've been speaking with an AI scout for my startup. Never had such an interesting chat. Efficient, effective, to be honest. But then when push comes to shove, no investor has contacted me since. Well, hey, that's what can happen, unfortunately, as well. Foxy, a few comments here. I think the AI videos interviews that you mentioned yesterday are terrible, though. I've had one and it's just wrong. Interviews are supposed to be both parties interviewing each other. Absolutely huge as well. Jeffrey, hi, I can see you've got a AI use in initial screening prior to even a recruiter getting eyes on a resume or application, and then initial communications before you engage with a human. So it looks like all of you are starting to get quite a lot of interaction already, some feeling, some where things are actually happening as well. So let's take it a step back, because we see a lot of these, what I call the old school recruiters, people who've been in the game for a long time, who will post up on LinkedIn and will say absolutely adamantly, there is no AI, there are no systems that are screening your CVs. It is humans making decisions. That's the end of it. Now, I would say to you that up to maybe even just a year ago, but certainly a couple of years ago, that would probably be true. There were very limited systems out there that did it. For many, many years, we've had systems that tagged on to a lot of what we call the ATSs, like the Workdays and of this world, which did do some hard yards in there to try and assist recruiters. If you had multiple applications, it would do very basic parsing, very basic picking up some different keywords that you have said you want it to look at, and it'll just give a rating, a score, a hard score for it. And there were a number of different applications that did it. They were super basic in their approach. And what generally you found is that most recruiters ignored them. They didn't auto-reject. Absolutely not. So that was not happening. And that's why when a lot of those traditional recruiters will come up and say on LinkedIn, you are not getting auto-rejected by AI. Up until recently, that is absolutely true. Absolutely true. So AI isn't going to be rejecting those. There are sort of knockout questions that you can have in the ATSs. The sort of things when you make an application, it'll say, what location are you? Are you legally entitled to work in this particular area, etc. Those are the sort of knockout questions you have. If you answer the wrong way, it'll automatically reject you. And that's just the system doing that. But so far as the CV is concerned, it hasn't been. Now, things are changing. And like everything in life at the moment, things are absolutely changing. And so there are a number of different tools that companies are using to try and assist that with and indeed there are an enormous volume of applications that are coming through. So what are those tools? What are they looking at the moment? Well, excuse me, there are a couple that will come through, and let me just have a quick glass. A large glass of vodka. I need it at this time. There are a number of different things that are coming through at the moment. And what there are is in particular a tool that is coming through. And now some of you may have already seen this when you're making applications. And what this is a tool whereby as soon as you do the application, it'll come up with a little message and it'll say, we use AI in order to parse your CV. And it'll go through exactly what it is that they're going to do with it. And what they will do is essentially they will parse your CV. So in other words, scan it, look through everything that is in there. And then what they will do is start picking out keywords. So they'll match the keywords based on what the description is, the job description that they've got. And then they will give an accurate assessment of what it is. But what they'll also start doing is based on what it is that the organization is asking them to do. And because it's more intelligent AI, it will start to self-learn. So it'll start to understand when it's getting feedback back from the recruiter, say, yes, this is right. No, that is wrong. This is what I want. It'll start to become more and more accurate in what their assessment is. So it's super fascinating stuff that it'll do. However, what it won't do is it's not going to send you a rejection email. They won't do that. And I think a lot of them are going to get super nervous of getting the AI systems to do that completely. So there still will be a human at the end of it. But what there will be is absolutely there's going to be more and more that you're going to start witnessing, where there will be systems that are going to assist talent acquisition teams in companies to try and help them get a better idea of who's going to be my top 10% of all the applications that I want to either screen in more depth or take to interview, etc. What that will mean, though, is a big implication on everybody else. If you're doing through an application strategy, it absolutely means that if you are sending standard uncustomized CVs through into applications, you are going to be at a disadvantage in this brave new world of AI. You're going to have to start matching what it is that is in that job description to make sure it's picked up in the right way. So there's going to be an awful lot of things that are going to be happening here that's going to have a major impact. Now, the good news in some of this, because it can probably be quite scary for you if you're listening to that, is not many organizations have implemented this yet. So some of the larger corporates, some tech firms have already started to implement some of these systems, but the overwhelming majority have not. But absolutely over time, more and more will start doing it. So it's going to be more going that way. It's going to be a tricky one to deal with. But what's so sort of interesting is sort of what is AI doing sort of behind the scenes? So what's happening in particular? What is it going to start, to look at? Because it's not just going to be just only keywords. It's going to be the skills. It's going to be the dates, the employers, the seniority of it as well. They're going to try and assess the competency as much as it can do. So it's going to start looking at, look, this is what the job description is. This is the accuracy of what we're looking for. And they'll also do some sort of similar profile matching. So they might even have people who are working in the company themselves, similar background, type of skills, the values that they add to it, and see if they can start doing that. They might even compare you to past sort of successful hires and then start putting automated scoring to it. So suitability ratings, red flags that you might want to do, gaps that you might want to start delving into a little bit more. It's sort of trying to do all of those things that really good recruiters did in the past that they did manually. So it's trying to speed up those processes as well. So look, obviously we've got some more things coming through here. Look, Marco, an IT expert, suggested me to put more positive selection criteria words in the background of my PDF CV, not visible to the naked eye. Look, there are some suggestions you can do that, but in general, what they're going to do is want to pick up, and keyword searching is going to be there. So you can absolutely, it's going to be basic keyword searching that they will do within the CV itself as to what it is that you want to be doing. But what does that mean for job seekers? What does that mean for candidates who are using an application strategy? What it means is it's even more work that you're having to do to make sure that your CV is absolutely spot on, to make sure you're doing that correctly. But also on top of that, and I think that a couple of you have already mentioned this, there are also other tools out there as well that AI is being used, and absolutely those pre-recorded videos are coming as part of that. Now, I put up a post, I know, this week, which got quite a lot of attention as well. And some of you may have experienced this as well. I know, Foxy, obviously you've had that experience as well, but it's definitely worth finding out whether anyone else has had that. I've certainly seen it on both sides of the fence of these pre-recorded videos. And essentially what that is that the system will ask you questions. You have your application bit, you go through a process, and then you literally have to record your answers as if you are being interviewed. But of course, you're not, because it is a bot that's doing it. So there's no human there at all. And you record your answers. You have several attempts that you can redo it. You usually have a period of time that you're given. So you're given like a minute to give an answer to it. And then apparently this all then goes sent off, and then somebody reviews it as well. I'm not quite convinced that that's probably the right approach. To my mind, I think it sounds the worst candidate experience. I think if I was a candidate, the worst thing I'd want to do is to start having that sort of interaction just with a pre-recorded video. I don't know what's happening with it. I don't know who's reviewing it. I don't know what's going to be done. And if you're not successful, is the recruiter going to record a video back to you and explain why it is? And I doubt that they're going to do that as well. So it doesn't seem really particularly equal or fair. So there are areas here where I think there are some things that are probably going to help and assist, but there's going to be an awful lot there that's not going to be so great. And things like the pre-recorded videos, I think, is definitely a side that is not good for it. Now, on the other side, there's AI systems out there that help candidates. I say help. It's like in inverted commas help. I don't know whether any of you have come across these. There's a lot of these AI tools out there that are saying, give your CV over to us. We will make hundreds of applications for you. We guarantee you a job. There are lots of them out there. And in some respects, it's that is also caused a real challenge to the recruitment industry, because what's ended up happening is applications are getting thousands of applications coming through. Sorry, job posts are getting thousands of applications through, just so many that are coming through, which is what is prompting on the other side of them looking at systems. So we're getting to the sort of the mad scenario where we have AI systems pumping CVs in that might have been created by AI, being searched and reviewed and dealt with by AI. So basically, we're trying to eliminate all the humans for some strange reason. Doesn't seem right to me, but absolutely, if you are contemplating any of these systems which do pump out CVs for you, please don't. I think that's it may seem that it's going to help you in finding a new role by having that numbers game, but absolutely, in my experience, it's going to hinder you. It's not going to help it if you're just ending up spamming loads and loads and loads out there. It's not going to help at all. Absolutely, Carolyn. Look, what you're describing, Nigel, is a system that treats candidates as if they are bots. I agree with you. I think that this system and where it's going, and I think there's some organizations going to probably just jump on AI because it sounds like that's the thing they need to do. They're under a lot of pressure from shareholders, from owners, from the business to try and transform their business with AI. I think there's going to be an awful lot that will implement it poorly, and candidate experience will absolutely be hammered as a consequence of it, because who doesn't want to do that? I'm mindful. I'm trying to remember the film. I don't know if you saw that, the one with I think it was Matt Damon. I can't remember what it was called, but it was sort of semi-set in the future with Jodie Foster as well. And he was on Earth, and then Elysium was it called? And they were all up in space in a beautiful place, and he was really struggling there. And he had to go to whether it was a probation officer or something like that, and he had to negotiate with his career person, but it was a bot. It was just a screen, and he was talking about it. And I sort of get the feeling that it's sort of turning into that. What I remember about it in particular was that he was trying to explain like a human, as if a human would try and emotionally connect with him. And of course, the bot wouldn't do that. It was a no nonsense. It was a binary decision. And that's sort of where we're getting to. I don't exactly what it was, Elysium. I'm sure it was too. Good film, by the way. I did enjoy it. But there was that section for it where he just felt super frustrated. He couldn't deal with it because the robot that was discussing this with him had that binary decision, couldn't understand the nuance, the emotion that a human had. And that's the bit that I think that the AI is great in a lots of different ways, but there are a lot of things there that are not going to help you. Well, I've noticed in particular in my role in in heading up talent acquisition for a large organization and for my clients and consulting them as well. I get almost daily, I get new organizations and companies that are coming to me trying to sell me their latest AI implementation, their latest AI that's going to help recruitment, is going to revolutionize everything, make it perfect, make it wonderful. And they're not really that great. You know, there are a lot of people who are sort of jumping on the bandwagon, creating themselves as AI, and it's, you know, it's just a very basic form of it. It is just relatively older technology and is not really going to do very much. The trouble with it is that a lot of organizations are probably going to buy into that, and there is going to be lots of different systems from that traditional recruitment process. So what does the future hold for us? How do you as candidates try and get past all of this? What are we actually going to have to do to try and change it? I'm just trying to see here. We've got a few different points here. Philip, yeah, video interviews, that's something we need to look at from a GDPR perspective. Couldn't agree more. I think there are, and there's a lot of that from all of this in terms of what we try to do from a point of view of what our privacy and data is, and also on top of that, there is going to be the the EU AI Act that will be coming into force later next year as well, and all organisations enacting business throughout the EU will have to comply with. So that sets regulations, and that coupled with GDPR as well, I think it's a really good point to say, Philip, is it will help us in some respects to sort of manage expectations of what we can do. In some respects, what that will have is that will give candidates a little bit of confidence in that, although AI, look, whether we like it or not, it is going to be part of our lives and it's going to be part of recruiting going forward. But a lot of those fundamental decisions of a yes or a no at the end of it is still going to be human. Now, that can be both a good thing and a bad thing, because at the moment it's completely human. And I think it's fair to say that across the board, it's quite broken quite badly. There is, you know, otherwise we wouldn't be having situations where most of the candidates are being ghosted. They're not getting communication back. You send off an application, it goes into a black hole, and candidates are waiting months and months and months to try and find a new role. At the moment, it's not easy at all to get out there. And that goes back to then, how do we combat the future that is happening, the AIs that are being implemented? How do we get around it? Because that's essentially what I think it is like, how do we get around this and speak to the human? How do we keep that human connection? What do we need to do in order to find that sort of human connection? And that fundamentally, I think, is what a job seeker nowadays, to be successful in this recruitment market, is what you've got to do is try and keep that human connection, to try and almost go round and avoid the AI implementations and what that can do for you. And it's something that I think, you know, I talk about it an awful lot. It's almost like there is a massive recruitment crisis that's taking place here. And it is that sort of perfect storm of lots of things that are happening. One of them absolutely is AI, both from a candidate perspective and from a company perspective. But then also it is that we've got a very old way of recruiting. That old way that was invented decades ago, some would argue centuries ago, where you write out a CV, you write out a cover letter introducing yourself, you post it off to somebody, and then you hope that that person will then read it and say, yes, I have got this job and please come and speak to me about it. And all we've tried to do is to try and take that old model and try and move it forward a little bit, but without changing the way that we do it and trying to make that work for the 21st century, which it clearly isn't. It's creaking at the seams. It is not the most sensible way of trying to recruit. And that's why I think that what is happening is it's going to change slightly. And AI is helping that, absolutely accelerating it. And where it will be is that, as we've talked about before, recruiters and organizations and companies are going to find ways, rather than sit there, put a post up and wait for people to come to them, what they're going to do is to actually go and find those people. How do I find somebody and get them to engage with me and talk to me? How do I find the very best person for this job? And LinkedIn is the way that they will do that, because absolutely, if you've got 1.2 billion people on there, they're going to probably be able to do that quite easily. The way that people used to recruit was absolutely going out there, putting a job post up, finding who it was, and it worked relatively well because there was nothing else out there to do it. Suddenly, LinkedIn has come across, and now that you have that ability, for me as a recruiter, I have the choice of either putting up a job post and I sit there and wait and I hope that people are going to come to me. And there's lots of different ways I can try and promote that job post, whether it's on Indeed or LinkedIn or whichever other sort of job boards or local niche ones that I can do. And I sit and wait and hope for people to apply. And if people don't apply well, I have to look at other different ways of doing it. But sometimes that can take weeks. I can either do that, or right now what I can do is I can use LinkedIn Recruiter. I can put in manually what I'm looking for. I can say I want people who are open to work, who are a marketing manager just outside of London in the Reading area, of wherever it might be, with these skill sets, and then it'll ping up all of these people who can do that. And then I can reach directly out to them. What AI with LinkedIn is doing is making that process of searching, which used to take a few hours to do that, I can do in the space of minutes, just a couple of minutes. It will do it for me, automatically do it, automatically send personalized messages to them, automatically manage the messages as they're coming back, answering questions, booking in interviews. So suddenly all of that process gives me more time to be searching, doing other things, to interview, to do all the human elements that a recruiter wants to do. But what it will mean is that I think there's a fundamental shift away from the old, I post a job up, I get applications, you as a candidate apply to roles, and you sit there and wait. On both sides, you all sit and wait for weeks and weeks and weeks, hoping that you're going to get an interview, and maybe that happens. To the other way, where I specifically find the people I want. I use technology to help me do that. I know where they are. I know the place that they're all residing on. And I go and find them, interact with them and speak to them and do that. And I'm transferring a hiring process that would take a couple of months into a couple of weeks. You're speeding everything up, and the quality is getting so much better. You're getting far better talent because you're the people you specifically want to get. It's taking headhunting and searching that used to be really expensive into something that isn't quite so expensive and is a lot quicker in order to do that. So it's meaning that an awful lot is happening from there. So indeed, Zano, look, thanks for sharing, Nigel. The $1 million question is, what is it that we can do as candidates? Absolutely right, it is. And for $1 million each, I'm glad that you've worked out how much that is. Please donate $1 million to me, and I will do that, each of you. But no, realistically, look, absolutely, what is it that you can do? What is it that you can do to try and change this model and make sure you are seen? And that's what it's about. The key differentiator going forward in 2025, but we're just about to get into 2026, for you as a job seeker is visibility. That is the number one key thing that you need to get. I would argue that that has always been the case, but just traditionally, visibility meant that you had a nice CV, you had only a few people that you were competing against, and if you had good value and you had a good CV, you could be seen quite easily by that recruiter. He was going to see it in the application that you've put there, and they invite back out to you. It is so swamped. It is so generically old-fashioned and broken that is just not working. The visibility of one recruiter versus what we're going to be looking at here now, the visibility of tens of thousands of people who all can do your target audience, the target people, what you can see. So that is what you as a candidate can do to really make a massive difference. So look, absolutely, why not try and see? So let's have a look a little bit more of what we can do. And there's a couple of other things I would hasten to add, and I think some of you might have mentioned that in the comments as well, is what can you do and what AI systems can you use to help you do this? Well, there's two different things that we separate out. So first of all, I think it's important to say, at some point, you're still going to have to apply for some jobs you're not in a scenario whereby you're never going to apply for another job ever again. Even though I might say occasionally that, if I was made redundant tomorrow, I wouldn't apply for a single job. It's probably been a long time since I've ever applied for a job. To be honest, most of any of the work that I've ever done has come through referrals, has come through networking, has come through making myself visible. That's how I've been getting my work for a long time, is through that. And that's how I would strongly recommend that you go out about it. But I absolutely realize that there are still going to be integrated job application processes that you're going to have to do. And part of it is that you're going to have to apply. And indeed, even if you're doing that, you're still probably going to be invited to apply for roles as well. So you're going to need to do that. So you're still going to need a CV. You're still going to need to do that. But it needs to be super strategic. Do not think that this is a process whereby it's a numbers game. Don't let people convince you that's what you need to do. It isn't. It absolutely is. Visibility is key, Jeffrey. Absolutely. If you're not seen in this market, you're nowhere. You've got no chance of getting anywhere at all. I see an interesting here, Marco. You suggest a world where we connect to other people filtered by AI. Are we still in the driving seat here? Yes, you are. You absolutely are. That's the good news. And it's a great question, Marco, because you absolutely are in the driving seat. Because you have the ability to make yourself visible, whether it is to AI or whether it is to an individual. But of course, at the end of the day, it's going to be people who are going to be viewing you. So it's not just, and this is the thing to remember with LinkedIn, it's not just the recruiter that you're aiming at. It is everybody within that business. So you're going to have a number of people who are decision makers. You're going to have influencers. You're going to have a number of people there who will be able to help you get seen. So the decision makers, who are the people who can do that? The decision makers are people, like the recruiters. They're going to decide whether or not to put you forward. The hiring managers, they will decide whether or not that they want to hire you. The leaders of the companies, so the managing directors, the CEOs, the C-levels, the VPs, the leaders of that particular business unit, they are decision makers as well. They will decide whether or not to do something for you. And then you have the influencers, so people who are not necessarily directly involved in that hire, but they are people who work in that team. They could be peers within that team. It could be people who know somebody in that team and can refer you in. They can influence you and help you get through to that. What I'm suggesting here is, look, what we're doing is trying to activate all of these different people. And the way that we do that now and moving forward, the way that it works on LinkedIn now is by creating content, is by engaging with people with value add comments to make sure that you can be seen. Use LinkedIn in all its ways to try and get seen by your target audience. So the way that we work that out is that you need to go out there and first and foremost, before you do anything, is make sure you update your profile. So look at your profile on LinkedIn, change it up, making sure that it's got all the things. If I went on to see that and just viewed it, I could work out what it is that you did for a living and what value you could add to anybody. You've got to make it so that it's super simple to see. And look at it through your own eyes. You can absolutely use AI to help you, ChatGPT or any of these other tools that you can use out there. Get it to review your LinkedIn profile. Get it to make those suggestions. Ask it, say, if you were a 10-year-old looking at my profile, could you understand what it is that I do for a living? See if it can make it out that simple. And that's what you've got to make it do. So you've got to make your profile so that when people go onto your profile, they can work out very, very quickly, does this person do what it is that's going to help my business? Is this the person that I want to be hiring? I've got a problem in my business I need to solve. Do they solve that for me? Is it something that's going to add value? Even for the extent that a lot of recruiters still will hire search based on what people do for a living. So just a job title. Does your job title reflect what the market thinks it is? Now, if you have an internal job title that was really fancy and it sounded really, really good, but in the outside world, no one really knows what it is that you do, then absolutely you need to change that. So just adapt it, change it, make sure that it aligns with what the market thinks it is that you're doing for the kind of role and kind of work that you're looking for. So 100%, first thing that you can do, proactively update, change, and optimize your LinkedIn profile. Number one. Once you've got that then done, the next thing is then starting to, before you engage out in the marketplace, which of course you can do randomly, you can just start putting posts up there, is start understanding who it is that you want to start talking to. Who is your target audience? Who are you trying to get hired by? Who are the companies? Who are your target list of companies that you want to get hired by? So whatever market that you're in, so whoever you've been working for, if you're now out of work, and or if you're still in work and you're looking for another job, who are the competitors in that market space? Who are the other people, the other players of all sizes and all shapes? And then who's the next level away from that? So who are people who do similar products to it, but aren't necessarily direct competitors? Who are the people that do that? If you want to look at something just for the area that you're doing, okay, that's fine. Well, let's look outside of that for the kind of organizations that do similar types of products or services, but are not necessarily competitive. Let's have a look at those ones. Start to go on to LinkedIn, follow those companies. So again, what you need to be doing, follow the companies, have a look at that, and then start to look throughout each of those to see, okay, who are the people, the movers and shakers? Let's have a look and see who works there. Who are the kind of people I would be working for, who would be hiring? And then start looking at their content. Go onto their profiles, start to engage with their content. And commenting, as I said before, is a super easy way to put yourself out there. I think all of you probably, in the same way as we've said a million times previously, it is really nerve-wracking putting yourself out there and trying to create content and trying to say things. Commenting is a fantastic way of starting to do that and putting yourself out there and starting to do that. So that's how you can start in that process. And that's where you start creating this visibility. This is where fundamentally what we're doing is we're creating a strategy that gets around that bit of, look, this is what happens in application. AI is searching, the AI is looking at your CV, AI is making that decision. And what I'm saying is, look, yeah, there's going to be some element to it if you're just doing an application only strategy, you are a slave to all of it. You're going to be stuck behind that. And there's not much else you can do about it. You're playing the game and that's the end of it. What I'm suggesting is, look, yeah, there's going to be an element that you're going to have to do some strategic applications. But what we're going to do is we're going to put you in front of the humans still, because the humans are still interacting on LinkedIn. They're still engaging with them. None of us have gone away. We're all still here. You do it. You're all going on to LinkedIn. You're all engaging with each other. We're starting to do that like we're doing here on this live. We're engaging with each other. You're putting great questions here. So in the same way, absolutely, for a job search, what we need to be doing is utilizing the technology to try and present yourself out to the big wide world. And most importantly, is showing and demonstrating value. What is it that you can give? So don't go out there just spamming people, sending lots of messages saying, I'm looking for work. I'm looking for work. Because guess what? Unfortunately, millions are doing that. And that's what a lot of people are doing. And so people are starting to get completely desensitized from that. So whether they're hiring managers, business leaders, recruiters, they just constantly, day in, day out, are getting hundreds and hundreds of messages of people just saying, I'm looking for a job. Here's my CV. Can you have a look at can you review my CV? Have you got a job that I can do? That's not the way that's going to help. That will just have the opposite effect. Social selling is about connecting with people. It's about giving, not trying to take something. So what it's about and the principle behind it and why it's so powerful is that the more that you give, the more value you give out, the more that you show and demonstrate what it is that you can do, people can work out and they'll connect the dots. If I was looking for somebody to fill a particular role that I've got and somebody just constantly engaging with me, whether it's on commenting on posts that I've got in messaging or commenting on posts of my company, or somebody else is there that I can see that comes up in my feed, What am I going to do? I'm probably going to, if it's a real value add comment, I'm going to go straight onto your profile and go and look and see, who is this person? What is it that they do? And that's when your shop window of your LinkedIn profile is going to really add that value. Because if I can look at it and think, well, hang on a second, I've got a role that's opening up in my area, and this person looks like they can do exactly what it is that I want, and I'll do one of two things. I'll either reach out to you directly myself, or I get the recruiter who's working on that and say to them, here's this person's profile, can you reach out directly to them and set up an interview? I'd like to see them. So that's why that is so powerful. It's not easy, absolutely, I completely understand, but it absolutely starts helping you as well. Absolutely, Carolyn. Yeah, Foxy. So obviously you guys have been talking about it. It definitely feels like introverts are at a disadvantage. Absolutely. Introverts, I think a lot of us are like that. Deep down, I think I am as well. I remember as a child being said all the time that I would have my various grown-ups when I was a small child saying, oh, he's terribly shy. He was very shy, isn't he? And I would try and combat that by thinking I need to be more extrovert and, show off a bit more. But deep down, we all are. We all are a little bit introverted. I think finding the confidence to be able to put yourself out there can be super tough for us, for a lot of us. And I know that I'm happy to come on here on a LinkedIn Live, sit here and talk once a week for at least an hour and do bits on camera and do all of these different things. But there is still an element that every time before I do that, I'm thinking, but what am I, who am I to say that? You have that imposter syndrome constantly. That won't go away. All I do is thinking, well, look, I'm just trying to give. I'm trying to give some help. I'm trying to give some advice. I'm not trying to take anything back. I'm just trying to do something good outside. And if things do come back from that, then that's great. And that's the same way that you need to think about it. Is that I know it's tough. Fortunately, LinkedIn is a relatively calm place. It's not like going to Twitter and engaging in some political discussion there, because you get like an absolute pile on, or the same in TikTok, where people feel really comfortable to put quite nasty comments or difficult comments. LinkedIn isn't like that. It's a fairly soft landing. So the good news is that if you're doing this all on LinkedIn, which I'm advocating, it's a wonderful area to be able to be heard. Obviously, look, what you're trying to say and the format that you do, the way that you produce your content is got to be interesting. And a lot of the time, if it isn't, then all that will happen, the worst can happen, is people just aren't engaging enough with it. But that's fine. You can develop that up. And you don't have to just do video. You don't have to do LinkedIn Lives. You can do text only. In fact, I have had the most successful posts that I've ever put up with over 1 million impressions have just been text only, that have done that. No picture, no video, just text. And so it absolutely can be done like that. So, and LinkedIn is still a great format. And yes, there are lots of different changes to its algorithms and lots of things happening to it, but 100% you can do that. But I completely understand why it might feel that it's tough to do that as well. The other element that you need to make sure that in order for this to work, look, this it's not a one-hit wonder. It's not that I'm going to go and post today, or I've put 2 comments up last week. I've done it. That's it. I'm going to get my visibility. Unfortunately, consistency is absolutely key. And that means doing something every single day. Every single day means that you have to do a little bit of something for it. Now, before I start setting hard tasks, but I set the group here a task of 15 comments every day for a week, which I think I probably set a few nerves jangling and frightened quite a lot of people as to the volume of that. But hopefully what it did was to try and make the point of, look, consistency is key, volume is key. You can't do enough on it. But, and there is a big but here, if you are producing 10 posts a day and 50 comments a day, every day for the next 10 weeks, and those posts and those comments are absolute rubbish. They're poorly written. They're not particularly interesting. The comments that you're putting are just great. Thanks. Congratulations. It's not going to work. So it's better to have high quality than just high volume for the sake of high volume. Don't think that this is just a volume gain. In the same way that with your application strategy, it isn't about just sending loads and loads and loads of CVs off, and yes, that's going to solve the problem. No, it's got to be qualitative. So when you're making that application, you're going to make sure that you've researched the company, you understand their bullet point, what are they looking for? I've customized my CV, I've made sure I've done the things that they want me to do in order to put myself in the best position to be seen by one person, the recruiter. And in the same way with LinkedIn, I've understood my market, I understand my target audience, I'm engaging with them, I'm starting to show value, I'm not trying to take from them, I'm trying to give, I've optimized my profile, I'm producing consistent every single day, whether it's a post or some comments, and I'm making sure that I'm continuing to engage and following up. That's better than just sending loads and loads and loads and loads out there. Absolutely. Now we're coming to the last section, and because my glamorous assistant is living it up in Australia, watching the cricket, I have to now look over here to have a look to see, because previously it's you thought I was that clever by doing all of these things myself, but of course I did actually have a little bit of help. But look, let's have a look through and see if there's any questions that you guys have got in particular that we can deal with here as well. So I'm going to flip through to try and have a look and see if there's anything here that we've not gone through that we can have a look as well for you. So let's have a look here. Philip, look, we've always said that looking for a job is a job. Pushing yourself out there is just a uniform we have to wear. How we approach looking for work is an indication of how you would be in work. Your value is what you can offer and do. I really love that. That is so good. And absolutely, I say it all the time that looking for a job is a full-time job, and you have to treat it like that. Is that I posted up today talking about my experiences over life, and I did it and started off by, I was asked a little bit the other day to say, oh, it's terrible. Somebody was saying to me, oh, it's terrible. You know, the market's awful. We got AI coming in, and you got Ukraine, and this, that, the other, and it's really, really terrible. And I said, yeah, it is, but it's not the first one. This happens all the time. These things are happening. In fact, when I first came out into the world of work, I got into financial services. And the day after my birthday, just a few weeks after me starting, in fact, my first month of starting real work in financial services, we had Black Monday. We had a global stock market crash. I'm probably aging myself a little bit, but we had a global crash in my first month of working in financial services. Now that's pretty tough. And since then we've had loads. And what I realized super quickly is that the world goes up and down. We have Tony Robbins talks about the seasons. We have seasons in economies. At the moment, like we are in the season moving into winter now, we are in a winter at the moment. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't make headway. And that absolutely some of the greatest companies on earth have been created in downtimes, in depressions, in recessions, in global stock market crashes, etc. The very best. And the same is for you. There are people out there who are hiring. There are people out there who are looking for work, looking for talent. Quite often, they're the ones who are not even advertising or posting those roles. They're just quietly looking to find those people. And the best way to do that is by making yourself, as Philip says here, is treating it like a full-time job. Whenever I've had downtimes, whenever I've had times out, I've done exactly that, where I would still wake up at the same time, still have the same routine, still have an area in my house. This is before we all worked remotely, but I would turn it into my office. I'd make sure I was ready for it, going straight to work, and I would just be working all day. I'd set my plan, what my business plan is, what I wanted to do, even before the days of LinkedIn and how I would connect and with people. But it was still always about creating visibility. What LinkedIn does is provides that opportunity essentially for free if you're not getting LinkedIn Premium, but essentially for free. to do that as well. So let's have a look here. Foxy, you managed 59 comments this week. That's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Not quite 15 a day, but not bad at all. I think that's really, really good. So please do keep on going from that. Let's just have a look here. Esther, just a tip from me as a recruiter. I've experienced candidates message me about available roles. They didn't even look on the careers website or have anything to reference. The ones that do research, I'll always respond for. I think that's a really good tip there, Esther, as well. Really, really good tip. Do your research on companies, and absolutely, look, recruiters are, if you're going to be messaging directly to recruiters, they are super stressed as well for different reasons, but they're super stressed. They have loads of roles on that they're having to manage and try and to balance. There's probably less recruiters, and that's why they've got more on, because they're having to take on more work with less in their team. And they have thousands of candidates they're trying to deal with. So absolutely, I think it's a really good tip there to make sure you do your research, reference something in particular, ask for some more clarification or information. That can really, really help a lot as well. Let's just have a look and see. I think we've got one here. Jeffrey, Nigel, any recommendations on a formula or best practice in setting up an optimal post in order to gain the most visibility? I've heard of hook, rehook, body, value, call to action. Look, Jeffrey, I mean, pretty much so, yeah, that is that. I would tend to work at it on this. So when I'm looking at creating my content, so I do it in a couple of different ways. So that's all I can share is what I do. And that can, if that helps for you, then absolutely. First of all, I plan it out. So I plan out, I use a tool called Trello, and I plan out, and I have a content calendar. So I sort of look to see, this is the sort of thing I want to do. These are the kind of posts I want to do, whether they're video or everything. And I give myself some idea a month in advance of what it is I want to do. And then I will start creating some posts. So some of which I will have already created. I've already scheduled. So I do a lot of, so I don't tend to do it all like day by day. I'll do it at the weekend and try and schedule some for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks in advance. So I have a load scheduled. And then I want to respond. So I'll also have posts that I look at and think, things that are just happening, things that I'm finding interesting in day-to-day life, something else I've read, I want to talk about that. I think, oh, that's really fascinating. Sometimes comments that I've seen as well. And then I will produce that. So that's on the sort of the format of it. In terms of how, absolutely. So when we're talking about hook, rehook, body, value, call to action, essentially what it is you've probably seen when you're going through LinkedIn and you're scrolling through your feed, you'll see just the first part of it. And the way that it will monitor your impressions, if somebody clicks to open that up to look at it more. If you're just scrolling past and going past it, it won't connect it. So, and I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect that LinkedIn has probably slightly changed their algorithm to counter as an impression. So it'll have a longer view time in order to count it as an impression. And the way you get that is, so yes, the hook, you've got to try and get somebody to have a look at it. The people like the Daily Mail and stuff like that, that's the extreme version of clickbait to try and, I'm sure you've all seen it. If you go online, you will see it all the time. They'll just give you a little bit of and you can't help yourself. You want to click into it to go to then see some more. What you've got to try and do is sort of formulate it a little bit in a way of thinking that first sentence, what's going to interest someone to want to come into it. The rehook is the next bit of it. So in other words, what you can see that will prompt you to go on more and read a little bit more into that. So that's then goes into the body. A call to action at the end. Yeah, look, I'm a big fan that I think it's important. You will probably see in all of my content, I'll ask a question, I'll prompt somebody to do something. I'm getting you to do it. Most of the time, what I'm asking is trying to get engagement rather than necessarily click on this, go to this website or do something like that. But you can do that as well. So yeah, I think absolutely, Jeffrey, that's a good way to do it. And don't forget that, look, it doesn't mean that the first one that you do or every single post is going to be great, because they're not. Think about it as an 80-20 rule. You will soon work out that you'll have a benchmark for the sake of argument. If you have 1,000 impressions for every single role, then you're going to have a couple that will reach 2 or 3 or 4. And similarly, you might have a couple that will reach just 200 or 100. But your average, so you'll work out what the average is. So that's your sort of benchmark of it. Start analyzing the ones that work and the ones that don't work. You'll soon get an idea what your audience is interested in, because what your audience is probably going to be different to my audience. So you'll soon work that out. And if you've got your target audience right in terms of the kind of jobs that you're looking for and the value you're doing, you'll soon know there's probably 3 subjects. I know that if I start writing something about that, then I'm going to get a lot of engagement. I'm going to get a lot of impressions. It's going to do something. You don't want to talk about it all the time, but what you're going to know is that every so often I'm going to put something in like that because I know that's going to work. But you'll only get that as you go along. But be your own worst critic. Make sure that you critique not just the ones that are successful, but the ones that aren't. Look at the ones that aren't successful and see, have I written it in a way that people that are in my target audience like to read it? Is it being separated out? Is it easy to read? You may not like emojis or lots of space in it, but the way that we sort of engage with content online is people like to see things that are sort of quite easy to read. You're competing against a lot, and often we're competing on mobile phones. A lot of people will engage on mobile. So maybe sort of work that out as well. Okay, let's see if we've got any other here, there. Yeah, absolutely, Philip. That Trello is really good. I really like that. Foxy, Notion is amazing for planning content. I don't know Notion, but I absolutely have a look out of it. And you run Foxy's Lab 100% from Trello. Well, Foxy's Labs is fantastic. So I think that's a really good one here as well. So look, I think we're coming towards the end. I hope this has been useful for everybody as well. There's been a lot of a different chat that we've talked about in terms of AI and how that's being implemented in recruiting and what that means for you as well. So hopefully you can see how you can try and combat that, what you can try and do as well. We've only got a couple more sessions before we break for Christmas. And I think it would be really good, I think, for a challenge this week. I want you to all go out there and have a look and see. Let's start collating some good and bad about AI. I want you to start to think in terms of your own target audience. So maybe if you haven't done that already, to start doing a little bit of planning. Work out who is your target audience, who are the people you want to go and work for, and make sure that you're following those companies. And the challenges this week is, look, go and follow those companies and then go and engage with those companies' posts. So the people's posts and the companies themselves, but ideally the people who work there, because that's going to get more traction for you. So it's a relatively straightforward one. I'm being kind this week. It's obviously because we're running into Christmas, and that's what makes it even better for you as well. So look, thank you all so much once again. It's been fantastic to see you all. It is always a pleasure. I will try my best as well to get through everybody's questions and comments. I will spend some time over the next couple of days answering everything of the ones that we haven't done this week. As ever, stay safe, have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next week. Good to see you all. Thanks very much.